Hey everyone, it's Shams at Maskscara and we are back with another video. This time we're going to be highlighting methods of application with Supreme. So we all know that everybody loves a structured manicure, which is, you guys know, it's like building the apex and really loading product onto the nail to create a beautiful shape. But are these applications 100% safe? So we are going to show you how to do your application using the correct amount of product so that we don't overload the nail with too much product, end up with uncured product, or end up with unnecessary heat spikes on the nail. So it's all about application. There's been major strides in education about how we apply builder gels and builders in a bottles and types of gels like rubber bases and Supreme. We need to be aware of these applications and we are going to show you how to do your application the safe way today. For today's purposes, guys, we are going to be using Supreme Foundation Pink for best effect. And I'm also going to be using Susan. And Susan is our silicone finger, so we don't have to prep or do anything. This is all focused on just the application method. So if you do want to do preparation, we do have a prep video available and you can click on the link to see that video. But let's just focus on the application and getting that right to begin with. What you will note about Supreme gel, and if you're working with a builder in a bottle or a builder in a pot, it's the same. They are what we refer to as high viscosity gels. So they are thicker in their texture. It's like some of them are really thick, some of them don't even like self-level. So Supreme is quite thick. It does have self-leveling properties and it is fairly easy to work with. It's designed for a specific purpose. The gel stays in place and it makes the application so much easier. We will start off by what is known as a slip layer. Now, for lack of a better word or phrase of explanation, a slip layer is what I'm doing now. It's your first coat that is applied to the nail, and it's a really thin coat of product. So you are really going in there and getting it as thin as possible. When I say it's kind of like a mapping layer, what I mean by this is that it's going to mark out the area of application so that your next layer sticks to that mapping layer, or it sticks to that slip layer, so that the two like sandwich and bond together and flows over the nail. So in general, this is what your slip layer should look like. Now, we don't cure this slip layer when we do this application. So this is going to remain wet. And this is why in my head, I like to call it a mapping layer, because it marks out the area of application and where we're going to go to next. So now, guys, this is where things can go terribly wrong. Now, I've seen applications and I've seen people use quite a bit of product. So you'd pick up a ball of product similar to what's on my brush now, and then we apply this directly onto the nail. So it starts off by applying, your bulk of your product around that cuticle area, and you're actually almost working the product off the brush. And then we are taking the product and we are going to work it down the nail. So you are really bulking up that, let's call it the apex area, and then we are building the structure right down the nail. And depending on the length of nail, you can go in and pick up more product. Now, because we are working on Susan, we're inevitably going to pick up more product. But it would be, again, picking up a bulk, adding it to the sort of center of the nail where you've left off, and we're just going to drag down. And this is how we're going to go all the way down the nail. So we're going to build this over. And then we're going to kind of get that same application over the free edge. So we really are bulking up the layer and applying the product. And you can see that it kind of forms and holds onto that slip layer. Okay, so what we're going to do then, and now comes the real art of like getting the product the way you need it to be. So this would be where you would use your brush and start forming and pushing, and I would say almost manipulating the shape. So you're going to form the structure of your nail. Some people like to turn the nail upside down. You know, there's various methods, but one thing is for sure, we're going to probably need to use our liner brush. So I'm using the rose gold liner brush, and this is a really handy tool for this application, because what you're going to do, it's going to be very hard to take a brush from your gel bottle and really get the perfect shape around the cuticle. So what you would do here is you would use your liner brush, and you can guide the gel down the side walls without it having to touch the skin, and you can do the same on the other side. So I'm just guiding my gel. I'm doing this application as the way it would be done in the salon when it comes to structure. And then you would use your liner brush in the opposite direction, so you don't worry about the bulk. And you see how nice Supreme is. It kind of moves, but you know, you can pull it back and you can really work with your product to get it into place. So this is a lengthier process, that is for sure, but it does give you really beautiful results in the end, and that structure is quite strong. So I'm just going to manipulate and pull and play until I'm happy that I've got it into shape. Might not get it 100% perfect, just for the purposes of time in our video. And what our next step would be, what everybody does is, remember, we turn our hand upside down. So you would normally take your client and you would turn her hands. So we're going to turn Susan upside down, and this is going to pull the gel back down to the center. So in general, what I've done here is the basic steps of a structured manicure, gel manicure, Supreme manicure. But we have to ask ourselves the big question: is all this product going to cure 100% on our nails? Because remember, we cannot say for sure just by the hardness of a product that it's 100% cured. So looking at your gel and just saying that it's cured is not really the way to go. The best thing that you can do to ensure a cure is to follow manufacturer's applications and to use the manufacturer specified lamps. The reason why we say this is because it's lamps that are actually tested with the brand to see that it's giving you the best cure results. So if I'm happy that I've got my shape the way I want it to be, and we can see that we've got our shape more or less where we want it to be, or generally how it's supposed to be in these applications, we are going to cure in our lamp, and we are going to cure using our 99-second low heat setting. Right, so let's pop Susan in for a quick bake. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. The reason why we want to cure these applications on a 99-second cure is because generally if you're using thicker products like builder gels, it's best to let them go through the various cure phases, because it's going to introduce the light in a more controlled fashion, and then you may not get that hectic heat spikes that some of you experience with builder gels. When it comes to heat spikes, you want to be as careful as possible, if that's the best way I can put it. Don't think that heat spikes that are making your customer feel uncomfortable or feel an immense amount of pain is normal. It's certainly not normal. So now I've got my customer cured. And as you can see, we've got our application, it's nice and smooth. And generally, this would be what we would want out of a builder gel application. So now I'm going to show you a revised form of application, which is a little bit safer and it's going to use a little bit less product. And what I can tell you is the results are going to be just as good when it comes to strength and durability. Because I know you might come for me and say, but Shams, is this going to be as strong? Promise you, it's going to give you the results that you're looking for. It's just going to require a few changes for you to use less product and to know that you've got a way safer application on your customer's nails. So we're going to slide, oh guys, don't do this with your customer. Okay, so we're going to slide Susan's nails out. And we're going to call in Jessica. Okay, so let's put our nail into place, and we happen that Jess is a long-standing customer. She's used to the drill. So we're going to do our application, and we're going to follow the same rules, but we're going to change it a little bit. So here we go. We're going to start once again by using a base slip layer, or in Charm's terminology, a mapping layer. So we're going to start with our first coat, and we're going to go nice and thin to apply that base layer, which is again going to be the layer that keeps everything kind of in the right place without it running all over the show and flooding into the cuticles. That's another thing about Supreme that I love so much, is that when you apply it, it just doesn't run into the cuticles. It's a very controlled application. Because I don't know if you saw with the first application, I used quite a bit of product. So yeah, we don't want to get gel running all over the skin. That's another factor we want to avoid. There is so much things to avoid, guys, but yes, that's what we want to avoid. So here we've got our mapping layer, nice and thin. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cure it. So we're going to cure this one and with this thin layer, you can do a 60-second cure on full power because it's really thin, so you shouldn't get any major heat spike out of your product if you're curing very thin layers. So here we go. I can just hear everybody going, oh, what is she doing? But yes, it's all about your safety, guys. We want you to be safe. And I know it looks all amazing when they do all these applications, and they really, really are amazing applications. We're not knocking anybody's technique or method of application. But if we go back to the textbook of the nail gods, it has always been written that thinner layers of gel is safer, they cure better, and you're just going to get good results out of your product that way. And sometimes we don't see the effects of the applications that we're doing immediately. Overexposure happens over a long period of time. And we don't want you to end up with overexposure happening, and then it's because of many years of doing things where they were slightly wrong. So let's correct those applications right now. So here we go. With a cured slip layer, we are going to do our next layer of application. Now, when I do this, I'm going to be picking up, once again, a bead of gel. So nothing's changed. I'm picking up a bead, not too much. You can see the back of my brush. There's almost no product on the back of my brush. And there is product on the front. And we are going to apply onto our nail. Let's just bring our little finger up for you to see. And we are going to work by applying it around that apex area, just a little bit away from the cuticle. And we are going to work this bead of product over our customer's nail. And I'm taking it all the way down to the free edge. You'll see there's no product this side and that side, but we're going to work our product over to that area. Okay, so I'm going back and gently, it's almost like you're floating the gel over the nail. So you're guiding it over the whole nail. and getting all the product nicely into place. I'm sure this is going to be so hard for some. It was most certainly kind of hard for me, because it almost feels like, you have to undo those little old habits. So here we go. So I'm using it and I'm smoothing it over. And that amount of product that I just used now covered my whole nail. And remember, the liner brush is your friend. We're going to use our liner brush and we're going to go and we're going to pull the product down into the side walls where we need it to be. And I have enough product on my brush to finish this task. So let's move our finger this way so you can actually see what I'm doing on this side as well. Taking my liner and pulling my product down. And now you actually don't have so much product running all over the show. So what's going to happen here is your application is even going to be smoother than what it was before, because there's not so much product that you have to kind of form and sort of get into place. Okay, so this application is very much like the first application, except I cured that slip layer, and we can add one more step into this. You can even pick up a little bit of product onto your liner brush and you can add it to your apex area alone. So without having to have a whole bulk of product there, you can add to build an apex as well. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit just to show you. So just using my liner brush, I'm just taking a little bit of gel from my bottle. So you can see I have like a little ball on my brush, and you can apply that onto the center of the nail where you want your apex. And it just blends in quite nicely. So you're getting that nice ridge right down the center of your nail. And one thing that I actually would like to bring attention to is that, did you notice that even on the cured slip layer, my gel stayed in place exactly where it needed to be? So the argument remains that you don't have to have a wet slip layer. You can work on a cured layer. And remember, this video is to highlight the safest application techniques. So your safest route of application here would be to cure that slip layer. Right, so I've turned my hand upside down. I'm allowing gravity to pull the gel to the center of the nail, and we are going to cure. And remember, we are doing the 99-second cure. If only the little finger would stay up. Come on, Jessica.
No.
So difficult in the lamp. So it's like we want to slap your customer's hand.
Excuse me?
But still. Okay, so this is our cured nail, everybody. And to me, I'm sure you can see that looks pretty good. And now we're going to remove Jessica's nail like we did to our other customer. Guys, don't do this to your customers. Now let's have a look and let me show you something interesting. These are our two applications. So we can immediately see that the thicker application is way more dense. There's way more product. And there is sort of a deeper tone of color to it. And that's got to do with the amount of product that's on the nail. And then we also have our nail from Jessica, which is a little bit softer. And if we turn them to the side, okay, we're doing some tricks with our hands here. We can look at the thickness and we can see that we've got our nail from Jessica, which is slightly thinner. And then this is our nail from Susan, which we can see is significantly thicker. So this is if we're looking at our applications from the side using the two different methods. Now, this is the point where people will normally say, yeah, but it's cured. Is it really cured? That is the question. So now we're going to do something which is, I'm going to say, a little bit outlandish, guys. But we're going to snip them right through and we're going to check to see if we can see any visible uncured product. And if we do, that's a bad thing, because that's product trapped in the layers in between your cure, and that product's going to leach out onto the nail plate, and that can pose a huge risk when it comes to overexposure and allergic reactions. So let's do the crazy thing and let's cut this nail in half. Get the saw, Gregor. Okay, so we're using our rainbow cutter. See what we discover. And at the same time, guys, I just want to say, this is not like the hard and proofed way of doing things. It is a bit of a crazy way, but it's kind of just to see where we are with these types of applications and if what we're doing is the safest thing to do. Okay, so we're going to cut through our nail. Oh, it's like we really have to cut through this nail. That's how strong Supreme is. Okay, so we'll break it through. And let's see what we discover on our nail. And that's actually quite scary because this is hard at our free edge, because remember, this is the part that we kind of work down to the thinnest point. And even though it is 100% hard, it doesn't mean that it's 100% cured. But on this end, where the structure is built, like the true structure of the nail, that apex area, which is the focal point that we're all going for, we can definitely see that I have quite a bit of uncured gel right at that apex point. And if I put it onto my gloves, you can most definitely see the uncured product. So right there, we've got uncured product. And this is what we want to avoid. Now again, remember, I don't mean that this is going to happen all the time, guys. It might not happen. And it doesn't mean that it is 100% cured. But this is just showing you that putting it in the lamp, doing the cure, and working with that thick layer does leave a real risk for uncured products. So there's definitely quite a bit of uncured product trapped in that apex layer. That is where the bulk of the product was applied. Okay guys, so let's snip Jessica. Let's cut Jessica's nail and see what happens on the inside. And again, I need to mention this, and I'm mentioning things over and over and over. This is not a scientific test happening here. We are just needing to show you the difference in the cure levels if you do these applications and you use excessive amounts of products. So if we compare this nail, I can see a remarkable difference. So you can actually see it's way thinner for Jessica, and Susan's got quite a bit of product on her nails. But yeah, I can see it's way harder through the center of the nail. So my cure is way better with this product. In the application that we did, where we did the slip layer, cured it, and worked with a thinner amount of product and then added a little bit to the apex area. Now it may not have such an exaggerated apex like the other one. And this is where we can discuss, because I know the question's going to be, but there's hardly any apex, or I need a higher apex. What can I do? So if it is that you are wanting a higher apex area, you can build it in layers. So this means you can start by building, like we did the little drop on the brush, and you can cure, and you can add more and build it in thinner layers. So there really is no excuse to say that we can't get the apex, or the one apex is way too thin. You can build the apex into the nail by working with thinner layers, multiple layers, and curing each layer. It is going to take a little bit longer, but it is safer. But there is a way that you can do it. So being of the opinion that bulking it up and building it and doing it in one layer is faster and quicker, yes, that is true, but I don't think it's the safest way of doing it. And our main concern is the long-term effects of being overexposed to uncured gel products. So maybe taking a little bit more time with your customer and working in a more uniformed fashion and working with less product and building in thinner layers is going to give you a really strong application. It's going to give you the look you want, but it's going to be the safest way of application, and it's going to be a good way of you to feel assured that your customer has gel products on that has been properly cured. Now, there's a lot to be said about this video, I'm sure, but we really did not suck the information from the sky. We've looked at scientists like Doug Schoen, who is really respected in the industry when it comes to applications with gel products. And there's a lot of evidence that's available on his sites that actually speaks about these applications and how we really need to be more responsible when it comes to applications, especially with UV gel products. So I hope that today's video is going to pick your brain a little bit and make you question your applications and make you think about maybe changing a few things here and there so that you're working in a safer manner and that you have a lasting relationship with your products in this industry, because the last thing we want is for you to build up any allergic reactions to your products. These products are actually really safe, guys, but they are only safe if we use them correctly. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it makes a change in the way that you work with your builder gels going forward. Thanks for watching.